Shrestam Manamapi Shachiputram Atra Surupam Rupam Tasyagrajamuri Purim Mathurim Goshtuatim Radha Kundamagirivaram Aho Radhika Madhvasam Prapto Yasa Pratita Kripaya Sri Guru Tam Natosmi Gurave Kaura Chandraya Radhikai Tadali Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hema Badebyatschabe Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Bhina Parada Lakshay Chuktastu Kahamadi Tarangamati Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanaravindam Sham Sundar Shikanda Shikar Smaraha Sumurali Manohara Radhika Rasika Mama Kripanidhe Supriya Charana King Kurim Kuru Tavaivasmi Na Jivami Tvayavana Ti Vikyaya Devi Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers, thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmadya Paramaradhatama Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Ashto Tarasata Sri Rupanuga Acharya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev and to Srila Prabhupada and to all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyavacha, Putitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. By the causeless mercy of Sri Gauran Gauranga, we are blessed to come together and participate in this Manasik Parikrama of Brajadham. Today, our Parikrama takes us to so many places: Akrughat, Batrol, Vamsibat, Maan, Sarovar, and so on. And Pujapad Sri Bhaktivedanta Ashram Maharaj has spoken so very beautifully. And Srimati Shamarani Didi has spoken so beautifully. But very kindly, they have left some remnants on their plate for me to also chew today. So, first of all, in regard to Akrughat, we have heard about the pastimes there of Akrura and Krishna and Balaram, and the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He used to stay in that area, and when he came to Vrindavan, and the pastimes of how Krishna came to beg food from the Yagyapatnis. So there's a connection. There are parallels between Gaura Lila and Krishna Lila. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Vrindavan in the early morning until about noontime, he used to chant japa sitting under the Imlitala tree. And then he would go to the Batral near Akrughat, and he would beg alms from the Brahmanas, the houses of the Brahmanas there. So we see that in Krishna Lila, that's the place where Krishna, he begged alms, he begged food from the wives of the Brahmanas. And when that same Krishna came in the form of Gaurachandra, that's also where he went, and he would beg alms from the Brahmanas. So there's a parallel between Krishna Lila and Gaura Lila here. There is nothing random or arbitrary about the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everything he does, every place he visits, has a very profound meaning. But there's another pastime here near Batra and the Akrughat, which took place some time after the disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the disappearance of Nityananda Prabhu, which is very significant and very important. And that is, perhaps you know that the Shakti of Nityananda Prabhu, that is Janava Thakurani, she was living with Nityananda Prabhu in Kardaha in Bengal. So Srila Gurudev used to say that Nityananda Prabhu is the full embodiment of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And who is Janava Thakurani? The full Shakti of Nityananda Prabhu. So one cannot imagine the extent of the mercy of Janava Thakurani. In fact, after the disappearance of Mahaprabhu and his first generation of associates, and then Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami disappeared. Then Janava Thakurani, she became the main leader and unifying principle of all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas everywhere. So when Janava Thakurani, after the disappearance of Nityananda Prabhu, she came to Vrindavan. She came with a huge group of wonderful Vaishnavas. She was with the last remaining sons of Advaita Acharya, who was still alive in this world. She was with the younger brothers of Srivas Thakur. He had passed away, but some of his younger brothers were still alive. She was with Ramachandra Kaviraj, Govinda Kaviraj, with Narottam Das Thakur and others. So this huge parikrama party of all the surviving last associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and their next generations, they set out from Bengal and they were on their way to Brajmandal. So first they arrived in Mathura and they were very warmly welcomed by the Brahmins of Mathura. And some of those Brahmins of Mathura sent a message to the Goswamis in Vrindavan. Oh, Janava Thakurani is coming with a big party of Vaishnavas from Bengal, from Godadesh. So when the news came to Jiva Goswami, Lokanath Das Goswami, Bhugarbha Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Madhu Pandit, and other great Vaishnavas who were doing bhajan there in Vrindavan, then they set off from Vrindavan in a Sankirtan party to greet Janava Thakurani and her parikrama party. And as the two parties were approaching each other, they first met at Akrughat. So this is an astonishing meeting place. All the Vaishnavas of Vrindavan gave their Dandavat Pranam in a distance to the Vaishnavas from Bengal. The Vaishnavas of Bengal all gave their Dandavat Pranams to the Vaishnavas of Vrindavan. And they approached each other and embraced each other, shedding tears of love. Actually, many of these Vaishnavas, they had never seen each other before, but they were already living legends. They had only heard about each other. So Janava Thakurani was asking one of her associates, Parameshwari Das, who is this? And Parameshwari Das was pointing out to Janava Thakurani, this is Jiva Goswami. This one here is Gopal Bhatta Goswami. That one over there is Madhu Pandit. And on the other side, the Parameshwar Das was also then telling Jiva Goswami and the other Goswamis of Vrindavan, who were the great associates, the sons of Advaita Acharya and brothers of Srivas Thakur and so on. And in this way, they were all introduced and there was a very beautiful meeting there. And then Jiva Goswami very lovingly brought Janava Thakurani into Vrindavan and brought her to have darshan of Madan Mohan, Govinda and Gopinath, and then hosted her for some time. So at that time, Raghunath Das Goswami was very old and he could not make it all the way to Vrindavan from Radhakund. So Janava Thakurani went to Radhakund and personally met with Raghunath Das Goswami there, and her Baitak, Janava Baitak, is there on the northern side of bank of Radhakund. So after performing the Brajmandal Parikrama, when Janava Thakurani and her Parikrama party were leaving, then again all the Goswamis and the Vaishnavas of Vrindavan followed the party all the way to Akrughat, and then Janava Thakurani forbade them, no, don't come any further. You know, it's Vaishnava etiquette. If a Vaishnava is leaving, then you have to follow them for some of the way. So this is why the Vaishnavas were following Janava Thakurani from the internal part of Vrindavan all the way to Akrughat. And then she said, no, don't come any further. And they were all weeping and heartbroken. And then Janava Thakurani and her group, they continued on their way. So this Akrughat is a place of incredible meeting and also a place of incredible separation. And even though Janava Thakurani, she forbade anyone to go any further, Jiva Goswami, he could not control himself, and he continued with her all the way to Mathura and stayed in Mathura for some time before she returned to Gaudadesh. So this is one of the very ecstatic pastimes related to Akrughat. Now, today, I'd like to just touch on two places, Vamsibat and Maan Sarovar. So in regard to Vamsibat, there's a very beautiful Brajbasi poem. Vrindavan soban nahi, Nandagan sogan Vamshi, but nahi, a Krishna naam so naam, Jai Jai Sri Radhe. Vrindavan so ban nahi. Vrindavan is not a forest. Nandagan so gown. Nandagan is not a gown. This is not a village. Vamsibat so but nahi. This banyan tree, Vamsibat, is not a tree. And Krishna Nama so now, and the name of Krishna is not a name. What does it mean? All of our material conceptions of what is time and place and name, these are all the mundane and composed of the gunas. But the Vamsibat is a kalpa vriksha tree. It is situated in the forest. This is not a material forest. This is kalpa vriksha maivan. This is the manifestation of the heart of Shrimati Radhika. So this Vamsibat, as you know, is the place where Sri Krishna played his Vamsi. He played his flute. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, this pastime has been described. Shukadev Goswami Pad, he said, Bhagavan apitara tri, shad utfulla mallika, viksharantam manaschakre, yoga mayam upasritaha. It was the full moon night of the Sharad season, autumn season. The moon had not risen yet. But Sri Krishna, he looked out into the forest and he saw that by the arrangement of Brinda Devi, Sharad Utfulla Mallika, the Mallika flowers were blossoming. These flowers don't blossom in the autumn season. So it was a supernatural. It means that Brinda Devi had inspired all the Udipana, all the various things that stimulate romantic love to manifest all at once within the forest of Vrindavan. So seeing this, Sri Krishna's heart was vibhavit. It was stimulated with intense desire. Viksharantam manaschakre. And he made up his mind. Manaschakre means he made up his mind. This verb chakre is in the Atmanepada form. That means if there's a verb, that means a word which implies doing something, but the fruit of that action comes to the person who's performing the action, then in Sanskrit, this Atmanepada form is used. So that means that even though Krishna is Bhagavan, even though he's Atmaram, he's self-satisfied, he became filled with desires because gopis have such divine transcendental qualities. And he wanted to initiate this Rasa Lila to fulfill his desire to please the Braja Gopis. See, Krishna was feeling so much separation from them, especially from Shrimati Radhika. When Sri Krishna was alone, he was picking golden yuti flowers. And from those golden yuti flowers, he made a beautiful deity of Radharani. And then he embraced that deity of Radharani made from flowers. But the heat of Krishna's separation was so intense that that deity was bhashma, turned to dust at once. So this was the fire of Sri Krishna's separation. Viksharantam Manaschakre, when he made up his mind, oh, tonight I will meet for loving pastimes with Radhika and the Braja Gopis. So when Krishna was in Nandagaon and he was looking out over the forest and feeling in this way, then at that time, Tadodu Raja Kakoba Karamukam Pracham Limpintyam Aronena Santamai Sakashaninam Sakarshaninam Udagatshuko Mirajam Priyam Priyeva Eva Dirga Darshanaha. Srila Shukadev Goswami is speaking in a very moving way. He says that if there's a lover and a beloved and they haven't seen each other, Dirga Darshana, they did not see each other for a long time, then when they meet, it's such a tender moment. And the lover takes some kumkum, some fragrant pollen from lotus flowers, and he smears that fragrant red pollen on the face of his beloved. So in the same way, Tadodu Raja, that means at that very moment, the moon rose. And as the moon rose, it was spreading a reddish aura. And this reddish aura was spreading all over the eastern horizon. So when Krishna saw this, he thought, oh, it's just as if the moon is one lover meeting with his heroine. And he's very tenderly smearing her face with kumkum. Then Krishna thought, this moon, Chandrama, is a male demigod. And the eastern horizon, she's a goddess named Purvadisha. Now Purvadisha is married to Indra. So just see, the moon, Chandra, is smearing the face of his lover who is married to another man. So this is the udipana, the stimulation of parakiya mood, of meeting, transgressing all the boundaries of dharma due to intense love and meeting with a married heroine. So Krishna was thinking, I was born in the dynasty, the Chandravanks. You know, Lord Ramachandra is born in the Suryavanks, the sun dynasty, and Krishna appears in Chandravanks, the dynasty of the moon. So Krishna thought, the Chandrama, the sun, the moon, that moon is the Adi Guru of my parampara. So it's very important, one should follow his parampara and follow his guru. So because the moon is meeting with his beloved who is married to someone else, then there's no problem at all. I should also meet with the Braja Gopis, even though they're married to others. Because anyway, the moon is an old person. And the romantic pastimes for old person, this is not rasik, there is rasabas there. But I am very young and fresh, and gopis are very young and most beautiful now. So I must meet with them. Thinking in this way, Sri Krishna, he snuck out from the house and went into the forest. Quickly moving through the forest, he came to Vamsibat. And there, when he came to Vamsibat, again he looked and saw the moon. Shukadev Goswami said, Dristva kumadvantam akhanda mandalam ramanananam navakunkumarunam banam chatat komala gobiranjitam jago kalam bamadrisham manoharam. When Sri Krishna saw the unbroken form of the full moon, then he thought, oh, Radharani's face is like the full moon. He was remembering Radharani at the time of the Holy Lila, how the kumkum was smeared on her face, and thinking, oh, Radharani's face is like this moon. Then he became disgusted and thought, no. Actually, her face is much more beautiful than the moon. I cannot even compare the moon to the rays emanating from the tips of her toenails. Ramanananam navakunkumarunam Banam chatat komala gobiranjitam. Krishna saw the very soft, beautiful sand on the bank of the Jamuna and the forest. Moonlight is very sweet because unlike the sun, which is harsh and reveals everything, the moonlight is very soft and leaves something, it reveals something and also hides something. So it's very rasik. So he looked at the beauty of the forest, especially the moonlight shining off the particles of sand on the bank of Jamuna. It appeared to be like millions of diamonds. And the glow of the Jamuna bank, he thought, oh, this is like the effulgence of Shrimati Radhika. So his heart was absorbed in Radhika. And at that time, Jago Kalam Bama Drisham Manoharam. Jago Kalam means, Jago means Giyate. He played kala. Kala means soft, sweet, and kala means asput, indistinct notes upon his flute. For what reason? Bama drisham manoharam. For the sake of manohara, stealing the minds of Bama drisha. Bama means very enchanting, and drisha means glances. To steal the hearts of those gopis whose glances are so enchanting. So, Krishna, how did he play his flute? First, his flute, which had been in his hand, he lifted it up and he looked at it. Why? Here, jago doesn't mean only singing, making the flute sing, but jago also means praising. He was praising the flute. Krishna looked at his flute and said, "Oh Vamshi, I always keep you with me. I sleep with you under my pillow at night. I always keep you tucked in my belt or in my turban. I always hold you in my hand. I always touch you to my lips. So, oh flute, you are very dear to me and I always serve you. So I am requesting one thing. Please, flute, fulfill my desire." Because now Krishna is going to make the flute his duta. Dut means a messenger. So in Dut Kavya, that is the poetry about sending messengers like Hansa Dut. So in the Dut Kavya, first of all, it begins with always a glorification, a description of the glories and praise to that person who will be the Dut, the messenger. So because Sri Krishna is engaging the flute now as his messenger, first he praises the flute and says, "Oh Vamshi, I need your help. Please make such a sound that it will call all the Braja Gopis, especially Radhika, and bring them here to me, because I cannot live without them for another moment." So being overwhelmed with separation, Sri Krishna now began to give a massage to his flute with his fingers, serving that messenger. And then he offered his Adaramrita, the nectar of his lips, to the flute, and put the flute to his lips, and then the Venu Nad appeared. The sound of Krishna's flute. Oh, what can be said about the sound of Krishna's flute? No one can describe it. It's amazing. Narad Rishi himself, he tried to describe it. He said, "Madhurima rasavaki, mattahansi prajalpa, pranaya kushumavati, bringa sangita gosha, surata samara peri, bankriti putanare, jayati ridaya dangsi, kopi bangsi ninadaha." The meaning is, oh, you know, swans fly for a very long, long distance. And when they finally arrive at the lake in the Himalayas, which is their destination, they become so happy. So the sound of Krishna's flute is so sweet. It is like the intoxicated chattering of maddened swans who have arrived upon a lake of the pure Amrita, nectar. Pranaya kusumavati, bring the Sangita Gosha. When a swarm of bumblebees see a garden full of flowers, they become so excited and they begin to hum. So in the same way, This sound of Krishna's flute is like the excited, joyful humming of a swarm of bees who have just discovered a garden of flowers made of love. And Surata Samara Bheri Bankti Putanare. And this sound of Krishna's flute is like what? Before a battle begins, there's beating of kettle drums. You can perhaps remember in Bhagavad Gita, before the battle starts, then all the drums beat and the conch shells blow. So it's very important to beat the drums loudly before a battle to announce, now the battle will begin. So in the same way, the sound of Sri Krishna's flute is like the beating of kettle drums to announce the Kama Sangram, the battle of love that will begin between Krishna and Radhika and his beloved Gopikas. So this is the sound of Krishna's flute. So Narad Rishi said, Jayati Hridaya Dangsi. I cannot describe it. It bites. It's as if it's biting your heart when the sound comes. You don't know if it's pleasure or pain. It is like nectar and poison combined. It bites the heart. Kopi Bangsi Ninada. I cannot describe it. It's something amazing. So the question comes, why is the sound of Krishna's flute, his Bangsi that he plays at Vamsibat, why is it so amazing? It's a very profound Siddhanta. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami that who is Bhagavan? What is the essence of Bhagavan? Madhurya Bhagavata sa Braja Koilo Paracha Taha Sukho Vyasira Nandana Stane Stane Bhagavate Baniyachi Janaite Tahasuni Mate Bhaktagan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the essence of Bhagavata, of Godhood, is Madhurya. And that Madhurya is only manifested in Vrindavan. And it has been described by Vyasarnandan, the son of Vyasadev, Shukadev Goswami, here and there in Srimad Bhagavatam. And when the devotees hear about this sweetness, they become completely mad. Tahasuni mati bhaktagan. So what is sweetness? Sweetness, there are many definitions of sweetness given in Shastra. One is that if Krishna, he may manifest or not manifest his Aishwarya, but still his activities don't vyatikram, they don't surpass, they don't transgress the limit of human behavior, then it's called Madhurya. Another meaning of Madhurya is Manoharitva. The quality of being Manohar, stealing your heart. When we see something which is sweet, when we hear something which is sweet, it makes us forget everything else and we become captured by that. So that is called Madhurya, sweetness. Now in regard to Krishna, Sri Vallabhacharya said, Adaram Madhuram Vadanam Madhuram Nayanam Madhuram Hasitam Madhuram Aridayam Madhuram Kamana Madhuram Madhuradipater Akilam Madhuram. Krishna's lips are sweet, Krishna's face is sweet, Krishna's smile is sweet, Krishna's eyes are sweet, Krishna's heart is sweet, the way Krishna walks is sweet. Everything is sweet about the emperor of sweetness. But actually, all of these things are not equally sweet. There's some hierarchy, there's some taratamya, there's some gradations in them. So Sri Bilvamangal Thakur has described that. He said, Madhuram Madhuram Vapurasya Vibho Madhuram Madhuram Vadanam Madhuram Madhugandhi Mridusmita Raho Madhuram 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 Madhuram. He said that Krishna's body is not only sweet, but Madhuram Madhuram, double sweet. But Krishna's face, Madhuram Madhuram Vadanam Madhuram. Krishna's face is Madhuram Madhuram Madhuram, triple sweet. And more than that, Madhugandhi mridusmritam etamaho. Upon Krishna's face, his smile is Madhuram, 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 Madhuram. It is quadruple sweet. His smile is very fragrant with the fragrance of honey wine, which makes him quite intoxicated. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described to Sanatana Goswami, hey Sanatana Goswami, hear about the sweetness of Krishna. Krishna's body is like the empire of all sweetness. And the face of Krishna is like a throne. And sitting on the throne, ruling over the empire of sweetness, is Krishna's smile. So Krishna's smile is the emperor ruling over the entire kingdom of all sweetness. Smita kiran sukapure paisi adarad madhuri se madhu matai tribubani Vamshi chida akashe taraguna shabde paishe dwani rupe pai pariname. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the nectar of Krishna's lips, which is the king of all the sweetness of his entire body, mixes with the camphor of his smile. And when he puts his flute to his lips, then Vamshi chidra akashe taraguna shabda paishe. Inside the flute, there is the akash, that is space. And the quality of space is shabda or sound. So when Krishna puts the flute to his lips, then the entire sweetness of the empire of his body, which is gathered together into his lips, is transformed in the akash of the flute into the form of shabda. So dwani rupa pai parinam. And now the entire sweetness of Krishna's body, his smile, his lips, has been transformed into shabda brahma, transcendental sound. And then that sound begins to travel all over Vrindavan from Vamsibat. Saki he Krishna Madhurya Amritera Sindhu Mora Manasanipati Sabapiti Korimati Durtai Vaida Nade Ekabindu. In the Bhava of Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that now that sweetness of Krishna, which is coming in the sound of his flute, it is like an ocean of nectar. And my heart, Sabipita Korimani, wants to drink the whole ocean. Can you imagine? Being so thirsty. If you're thirsty, maybe you want to drink 1 cup of water, or 1 liter of water, or 2 liters of water. But Radharani said, my thirst to taste Krishna's sweetness, my anurag, is so intense. His sweetness is like an ocean, and I want to drink the entire ocean, every last drop. But the problem is this. Radharani said, my mind, my heart has a disease called sanipat. Sanipat rog. Sanipat is a disease when a person has a very, very high fever and they've come to dashama dasha. That means there are 10 stages in a disease. And the last stage is the stage where you're about to die. And then the state of sanipat comes about. In that last moment, you are burning very hot. You are about to die. You are very, very thirsty. And you are begging, please give me a drop of water. But if you'll taste 1 drop of water at that moment, 1 drop of water will kill you and you'll die. So at that time, the doctor is very cruel. The Vaidya and the doctor tells to the patient, no, you cannot have even a single drop. If anyone tries to give water, they say also, no, you cannot touch 1 single drop of this. So here Radharani is saying, Durdai Vaidya Nade Eka Bindu. Even though Krishna's sweetness is like an endless ocean, and I am so thirsty, I'm about to die, and I want to devour the whole ocean. But my misfortune is such that I cannot get even a single drop. This is the Trishna, the intense thirst of Radhika's anurag. This is only some poetry to give some idea. It cannot be expressed. And even Radhika, when she meets with Krishna, even when she meets with him right there, milata mila mila wo chahi, mili milana kibu, mila raskavara prema so prachitina bhartahu. In Brajabasa it is said, even when Radha and Krishna are meeting, at that time, their thirst is so intense that they feel as if they're not meeting and they still want to meet. So in this way, Radharani says, Durdai Vaidya Nade Eka Bindu. I am so unfortunate. In separation, I cannot taste a drop. And even in meeting, I cannot taste a drop. This is the nature of Anurag. And it turns into the Mahabhav. So in this way, we're discussing today what? Vamsibat. How Krishna, on the night of the Rasa Purnim, played his flute. Kalam Bama Jago Kalam Bama Drisham Manoharam. First he glorified his messenger and then he began to play, and his entire sweetness went into the ear of Radhika and she became insane with thirst, leaving everything and ran to meet Krishna. Now, you know that Krishna has three types of flute: Venu, Murali and Bangsi. And his Bangsi is also of three types: Sammohini, Akarshini and Anandini. So what is Krishna playing here at Vamsibat? He's actually playing Akarshini. This is a golden flute. It's not made of bamboo. You see, his bamboo flute, the Venu, it is attracts everyone. In Venu Gita it is said, Iti Venu Ravam Rajan Sarva Bhuta Manoharam. The sound of Krishna's Venu is attracting everyone. But here, Jago Kala. Kala means the sound is indistinct. It's not, that means it's not attracting everyone. So Krishna is playing his golden flute called Akarshini. The speciality of this flute is that it's very, very choosy. It's very selective. It actually acts in completely different ways. First of all, it was not calling all the Brijbasis. They were not hearing it. But this flute was calling, oh gopis, come to me, come to me. And at the same time, this flute was directly saying to Shrimati Radhika, oh, the voice of Krishna, hey Radhe, oh Radhika, hey Komala Ruchi, oh you whose complexion is very soft and tender. Hey Mat Praneshwari, oh queen of my pran, please come to me at once. So this is the Akarshini, flute of Krishna, directly expressing the message of Krishna to Radhika. So then Shukadev Goswami said, Nishamya Gitam Tadananga Vardanam Brayat Brajastriya Krishna Grihita Manasa Ajagmur Anyanyam Alakshitudyama Sayatra Kanto Javalola Kundalaha. Very beautiful. Nishamya Gitam. Nishami means hearing. And here ni, this prefix ni, means ishat, just a little. In other words, the gopis did not have to hear the entire song of Krishna's flute, only hearing a few notes, and it had the full effect upon them. Nishamya Gitam Tadananga Vardhanam. What happened? Ananga Vardhana. The power of Cupid was Vardhana, increased in their hearts. That means that Rudha Bhav manifested. Unless a gopi has come to the stage, Prem, Sneha, Maan, Pranaya, Rag, Anurag, and up to Rudha Bhav, the gopis cannot go to Rasalila. Those gopis who were kept in their homes, it's because their Prem had not come to the stage of Rudha Bhav. So here, Nishamya Gitam Tadananga Vardhanam. When Krishna played his flute, it caused the Rudha Bhav to manifest. Brajastriya Krishna Grihita Manasa. Now, you know, if someone is a thief and they want to steal something, then usually thieves work in gangs. And the leader of the gang, that is Krishna here. Krishna is the leader of a gang. Chora Graganya Purusha. That means the leader of a gang of thieves. So when the leader of a gang of thieves wants to steal something, he doesn't do it himself. He sends one of his students. So Krishna's Bangsi is his duta, his messenger, and his Shishya Shiromani. He is the crest jewel of all Krishna's disciples. So that flute is very expert. If a thief wants to steal something, then what does he do? First, he checks the astrology, because if you steal at an inauspicious time, you'll not be successful. So you have to check that the astrological time is exactly right for your stealing to be successful. So the flute checked, oh, Tado Duraja Kakobakaramukam. The moon has just risen. This is the perfect time. And the flute set out to Braja and went to the homes of each gopi. Now, when a thief is stealing, he doesn't go through the front door. So he didn't, this thief of the sound of the flute did not go through the front door. He went through the side door, through the ear. The ear is the side door of a gopis. And quickly went inside and went directly to the storeroom, the heart. And there, the sound of the flute saw so many treasures in the hearts of the gopis. He saw the jewels of their vivek, their discrimination, the jewel of their laja, their shyness, the jewel of their dharya, the power to hold their patience, the jewel of their satitva, their chastity, the jewel of their chitta. And he stole at once all those jewels and quickly came running to Krishna. So Shukadev Goswami said, Brajastriya, Krishna grihita manasa. Krishna accepted the jewels from the manasa, from the hearts of the Braja gopis. Now you know that if you're on the street and some pickpocket bumps into you and snatches your wallet and then runs away, then what happens? Then you run after that thief. So in the same way, when the gopis realized that all the jewels of their heart had been stolen by this thief, then they ran after the sound of Krishna's flute. And Sayatra Kanto and Javalola Kundalaha. Shukadev Goswami says, Sayatra Kanto. They arrived here at their beloved. That means that Shukadev Goswami, because Shukadev Goswami is actually Radharani's parrot, and the parrot had already flown there and was sitting on the tree Vamsibat. So he doesn't say, Sa Tatra Kanto, the gopis arrived there. Shukadev Goswami said, and then the gopis arrived here. Because Shukadev Goswami, in his samadhi, as he's speaking this katha, he's already there, sitting on the Vamsibat and looking and watching his Swamini, Shrimati Radharani, gradually come running to that place to see Krishna at Vamsibat. Javalola Kundala. And as the gopis are running, their earrings are trembling. So someone may say, oh, their earrings are trembling because they're running. No. All the parts of the gopis' decorations, their ornaments, their cosmetics, they're all manifestation of their various bhavs. So the earrings of the gopis are their greed, their lobe to hear the sweet voice of Sri Krishna. And why are the earrings trembling? The first reason is the earrings are thinking, we are earrings made of jewels. This Venu Nad, the sound of Krishna's flute, very easily stole all the jewels which were hidden in the treasure chest of Gopi's heart. So how easily it would be for this flute to steal us, external jewels, which are clearly visible to everyone. So the earrings were trembling out of fear. Also, if you threaten a small child, they start to tremble out of fear. So these earrings were trembling also because they thought, oh, now our gopis are meeting with their lover. And when lover and beloved meet in the excitement of their pastimes, then their necklaces become broken in their embrace. Their bangles are broken, their earrings are broken. So now will become destroyed in the meeting of lovers. So, Javalola Kundalaha. Shukadev Goswami said, the earrings were trembling in fear. Jago kalam bamadrisham manoharam. One more thing can be said here. Shukadev Goswami is revealing a secret. That is this. Kala means sweet sounds of the flute. But ka means the letter ka. La means the letter la. Bamadrisham, which means gopis who glance very beautifully, can also mean, Bama means to the left side, and Drisham means looking. So in Sanskrit, there are two letters, the letter I, E. There's a short I, E, and long I, E. So they have, when you write them, they have like a hook on the top, and the short I looks to the right, but the long I has a hook that looks, a matra, that looks to the left. So the long I is called Bhamadrisha. Manoharam means stealing the mind. So that is, who controls the mind? That is the moon. So in Sanskrit, the Chandra Bindu is the sound ng. So here, Shukadev Goswami said, Jago, Krishna played kala lang I ing, kaling. In other words, the sound of Krishna's flute is the Kama Bij. Brindabane aprakrita navina madan, Kama Bija Kama Gayatri Jara Upasan. Sri Ramananda Rai explained to Mahaprabhu that Krishna is the ever-fresh transcendental Cupid of Vrindavan, and his worship is done by Kam Bij. So this is the sound of Krishna's flute. So just as Sri Krishna stood at Vamsibat and played his flute and called all of the gopis, but that sound of Krishna's flute, by that sound, Krishna also initiated Lord Brahma into the Kam Gayatri. And that mantra is coming down through our Guru Parampara and through Ramananda Rai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through our Goswamis, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, and from his lotus lips, the sound of Krishna's flute has come into our ears. And by this, even today, Krishna is standing there at Vamsibat, playing his flute and calling all of us through the Kam Bij and Kam Gayatri. This Bij awakens Gopis Prem and brings us to the lotus feet of Krishna at the Vamsibat. So these are some of the glories of this place, Vamsibat. When will we arrive there? One day, by the power of mantra given by Srila Gurudev.
I was wondering if you might be able to address the question I asked Shamarani Didi about Gopishwar Mahadev at Maan Sarovar. Srimati Radhika going into Maan because of Gopishwar.
No, this you know that in Braj there are so many kathas going here and there, because in Braja there are many different Braj-rasik sampradayas, like the Vallabh sampradaya of Vallabhacharya, Pushti Marg, such as the Nimbarka sampradaya of Swami Haridas, the Radha Vallabhi sampradaya of Hitari Vanks, and so on. So they also have their kathas related to these various places. So sometimes these kathas are spoken. But in our Gaudiya tradition, there is no example of Gopishwar Mahadev dancing with Krishna or Radhika becoming angry about this in our Gaudiya Sampradaya. In our Gaudiya Sampradaya, Gopishwar, he was on his way to the Rasa Lila, but Sri Krishna detected, oh, I'm not feeling the bliss today. There must be some outsider here. And the Rasa Lila was stopped, and the gopis found Gopishwar Mahadev and beat him. And Krishna gave him the benediction that he could not actually enter the Rasa, but he can only be on the gates, the entrance to the Rasa Lila, guarding it. So if someone wants to enter the Rasa Lila, they have to get the blessings of Gopishwar Mahadev. But Gopishwar Mahadev himself, he cannot enter in. Hare Krishna. We can say a few words about Maan Sarovar. Maan Sarovar. Thank you. The pastimes have been described by the other Vaishnavas earlier. So I want to just say a few words about the nature of Maan. What is Maan? So, there are two things that we have to consider. There is Maan, which is the Sthayi Bhav. And then there is Maan, which is a category of Vipralamba Rasa, the rasa of separation. So these are two different things. We can give some examples. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, in describing Maan, giving the definition, Maan, we first discussing Maan, the Sthayi Bhav. he says, Sneyas tut krishnata vaptya madhuryam manayam navam yodarayatya dakshinyam samana iti kirtyate. The meaning is this, that there's a type of love called sneha. Sneha means when the heart is completely melting and just a slight contact with Krishna causes tears to flow from the eyes. And the eyes are never satiated. They always want to look at Krishna. This is the state called sneha. Now, when sneha, this type of love, becomes even more intense, it comes to its most super excellent. Snehas tut krishtata vaptya. It comes to its most excellent state. Then avaptya madhuryam navam. Then that affection becomes completely pervaded by a sweetness which is new and fresh. Now, what's the nature of that sweetness? Yodariyatya dakshinyam. The affection becomes crooked. It becomes kutila. It becomes very crooked because it takes on adakshinya. You know, there are two things. Vama means contrariness and dakshinya means submissiveness. So here, adakshinya is described. That means not submissive. So when affection becomes very excellent and it becomes crooked, being permeated by a new sweetness, and it's crooked because some insubordination comes, some non-cooperation, some spirit of non-cooperation appears. So that is called Maan, the Sthayi Bhav. So we can give some examples. For example, one day, Radharani was waiting in Vrindavan, and Krishna came there alone, but with some cows. And when Radharani saw Krishna, then her sneha melted her heart, and tears began to flow from her eyes. But then her sneha became more intense, and it became crooked. How? Radharani wanted to hide the fact that she was crying out of joy of seeing Krishna. So when Krishna came to her and saw that tears were flowing from her eyes, then Radharani said, "Oh, why did you come here with so many cows? Now the dust has gone in my eyes." So she's hiding the fact that she's crying out of the joy of love. So outwardly she's showing some insubordination to Krishna, but inwardly she's full of joy. So then Krishna said, "Oh, my pran priyatam, my dearest one, let me blow on your eyes and I'll cool your eyes." And Krishna held the face of Radharani and he began to blow cool air on her eyes. And Radharani raised her hand and she said, "Oh, stop that, stop. What benefit will I get from this false show of love?" So this is the crookedness that manifests. But this crookedness, where the crookedness is on the outside, but the joy is on the inside, that is only in Radharani's Maan, not in Chandravali's Maan, because they have different sneha. Radharani has Madhu sneha, a love which is like honey. And Chandravali has Grita sneha, love which is like ghee. So Radharani's love, her sneha, when it becomes crooked, then she becomes contrary on the outside, but she's joyful on the inside. But Chandravali, when her sneha becomes crooked, then she's submissive on the outside and the crookedness is only on the inside. So in this way, the sneha of Radha and Chandravali both turns into Maan in the next stage, and both become crooked, but they become crooked in two opposite directions. So for example, with Chandravali, how does she become crooked on the inside? We've heard the example of Radharani. She becomes crooked on the outside and joyful on the inside. But now Chandravali, how she becomes crooked on the inside, but she's very submissive on the outside. One day, Chandravali was waiting for Krishna, and Krishna arrived there. But Krishna was so absorbed in remembering Radharani, instead of saying, "Oh, my dear Chandravali," he said, "Oh, my dear Radha." So when Chandravali heard the name, this is called Gotraskalan, when Krishna says the wrong name of a gopi. So Krishna did Gotraskalan. And when Chandravali heard this, at first when Krishna came, she was slightly smiling. But when Krishna said the name of Radha, Then Chandravali had a very big smile, even bigger smile than before. And she welcomed him. Oh, please come, sit down. So outwardly, she became more respectful than before, but inwardly, she was so crooked and she had the contrary mood on the inside. So outwardly, she's welcoming Krishna, but she will not respond to any of his advances. So then Krishna, he embraced Chandravali, and then he said, oh, I'm amazed. I have just embraced you, and I did not feel even a single drop of happiness. So this is Chandravali's nature. She is older than Radharani, and so she behaves in a more sober and mature way. So if she's upset with her lover, instead of angrily chastising him, she'll just become like passive aggressive and try to torture him through using rasa. So outwardly, she's smiling and acting in a very nice way, but inwardly, she becomes contrary and won't fulfill any of Krishna's desires. So this is an example of the Maan, which is a Sthayi Bhav. Now we come to Maan, the Vipralamba Ras. The Maan, which is the Vipralamba Ras, it has been defined by Rupa Goswami. Dampatya bhava ekatra satyorapyano raktayaha sobishta slesha vikshadi nirod mana uchate. It means that the lover and beloved, they may be together or they may be apart. They're deeply attached to each other and they want to look at each other, they want to smile to each other, they want to speak to each other, they want to embrace each other. But an emotion comes in their heart that stops them. And they don't do any of these things. And they experience Vipralamba Rasa, separation. So this Maan, this type of Maan, which is a Vipralamba Rasa, it is sometimes with a cause and sometimes without a cause. And it can sometimes be with a semblance of a cause. In other words, it looks like there's a cause, but there's not really a cause. So one very beautiful example is one day, Radha and Krishna, they were sitting together very joyfully. And then Radharani leaned forward very closely towards the face of Shri Krishna. And there on the cheek of Shri Krishna, she saw some red lipstick. And seeing that red lipstick, she became so upset. At once, she became overwhelmed. A bhav rose in, Sanchari bhav rose in her heart. That is called amarsha, indignation. She became very indignant. So then Krishna, he turned to look at Radhika. And as he turned to look at Radhika, she saw that the lipstick on his lip began to dance and move from side to side. And then at that moment, she realized, actually, it wasn't lipstick. There are some rubies, some jewels in Krishna's earrings, which are red. And the light shone in the red rubies and made the red light on Krishna's cheek. So now when Krishna moved and the earring was swinging, so then that redness on Krishna's cheek was moving. So at first, Radharani, she had bhavutpati, indignation rose up in her heart and she became in Maan. But then the next moment when she realized, oh, what happened? It's just the light from his earring. Then she had bhavasandhi, that means 2 Sanchari bhavs. The indignation went down and then 2 waves, they did bhavasandhi. These waves, they mixed together with each other. These waves were ashanka and vitarka. Ashanka means anxiety. Oh, I hope that he didn't notice that I was becoming angry thinking that this was lipstick. Because if Krishna thinks that I'm so highly strung that just seeing a reflection on his cheek, I'm getting jealous of another girl, then he'll think that I'm somewhat crazy. So Radharani became really worried that Krishna will think I'm very highly strung. So she had anxiety. And that anxiety was mixed with vitarka. Vitarka means speculation. An internal conversation is going on. She's arguing with herself. Did he see that I became angry? Or did he not see that I became angry? Did he see me or did he not notice? Did he notice or did he not notice? And she's in anxiety about that. So this is bhavasandhi. And then the next moment, these 2 waves went down and then 3 other bhavs came up at the same time. And they crashed together. This means when there are contrary moods, The contrary moods crash into each other, and that is called bhav shabalya, like waves coming from opposite directions. So then 3 emotions came and began to compete with each other. What was that? First of all, Radharani had vrida, the bhav of shyness. Oh, I'm so ashamed. Why did I become angry all of a sudden? Just seeing this light. And then she had the bhav called mati. Mati means thoughtfulness that comes when you make a decision. What was the decision that Radharani made? Radharani made the decision. She thought, oh, whether he saw me or not, I can't take a chance. So if he saw me that I became angry, then I'm just going to have to play along with that now. And to cover my mistake, I'm going to actually pretend to be angry over something else. So he won't think that I became angry over this insignificant thing. So that is called mati, the mood of I've made a choice. Okay, I'm just going to let this play out and pretend that I'm angry with him over something else to cover my tracks from before. So she was embarrassed. She had mati. And then the next bhav is called avahita bhav. Avahita means concealing emotions. So even though she was happy and Krishna hadn't done anything wrong, she was concealing this, and outwardly she became very contrary. So because here there is the sthayi bhav of Maan, and all the sanchari bhavs are coming and mixing with that, it's turning into a rasa. And this rasa is making an obstacle to their pastimes. So therefore this is called the Maan, which is vipralamba rasa. Now, one more small point, which is very important, that I'd like to conclude with in regard to Maan. And that is a very pertinent question. The question is that if the spiritual world or the pastimes of Radha Krishna, they are the lilas of completely pure love, then how is it possible that jealousy can come? How is that possible? If Chandravali and other gopis love Krishna, and if Krishna, when he meets with them, he gives happiness to them and they give happiness to him, then what is the need for jealousy to come? So this is a very profound secret, and it's very, very rarely understood. So sometimes when devotees are speaking, rasa bas, some imperfect rasa manifests in the katha. Our acharyas have explained the mystery of how jealousy comes in the spiritual world, in this pure love. The reason is this. Mito bhavasya vaidyate nabhavo rochate mitaha arochikata evayam akshantam janayat param. The meaning is this, that Radharani, she has vinata. Vinata means modesty, politeness, gentleness. And Chandravali also has vinata, politeness, gentleness, and modesty. Radha and Chandravali have exactly the same amount of vinata, actually. Now, in regard to the subject of Prem, there are 2 things which are necessary to know. Prem can be considered in terms of its jati, the type of Prem, and in terms of its pariman. Pariman means the extent. Radharani's Prem has a much greater extent. The pariman, the extent of Radharani's Prem is much greater than Chandravali's Prem. And because of that, Radharani's vinata, her politeness, gentleness, and modesty, which is the same amount as Chandravali, becomes what is called nigirna. Nigirna means swallowed. Her Prem swallows that politeness, it swallows that modesty, and it practically disappears. Whereas Chandravali's love is, she has so much love, but it does not swallow the vinata, the politeness. So in her love, some politeness, some gentleness and modesty is still visible in her behavior. And it's because of this, Radharani's Prem becomes Madhu Sneha and Chandravali's Prem becomes Grita Sneha. The Gritasneya is very polite. Oh Krishna, I am yours. But Radharani's Prem, instead of being polite, then she can be very contrary, and she thinks Krishna is mine. So because of this, two types of jati of love come. You have Gritasneya and Madhusneya. Now, because Madhu and that is honey and ghee, they don't mix. You know, in Ayurveda it said if you mix an equal amount of honey and ghee, it's poisonous. So these two things are incompatible with each other. These two moods are incompatible. In other words, Radharani thinks the way that I love Krishna, that pleases him the most, and that's the best way to love him. And Chandravali thinks the way that I love Krishna, this is the most appropriate way. So for example, if Krishna will approach Chandravali from a distance, then Radharani Chandravali will very respectfully stand up and with folded hands welcome him and offer him a seat. But if Krishna will approach Radharani and her Sakhis from a distance, then Radharani will say to her Sakhis, oh, Krishna's coming, let's pick flowers and ignore him, pretend he's not here, and they'll turn away. If Krishna will sit down next to Radharani, Radharani will turn her face and look the other way. And when Chandravali sees this, then Chandravali thinks, oh, what is she doing? She's disrespecting him. And if Radharani will see the way that Chandravali interacts with Krishna, if Krishna will take Chandravali's left hand and put it on his shoulder, then Chandravali will think, oh, left hand is impure, and take it away and put the right hand there. If Krishna's dancing closely with Chandravali, then she'll be very careful and her steps will go out of time because she doesn't want to touch Krishna's feet with her feet because it would be disrespectful. When Radharani and her Sakhis see this, they cover their faces with their cloth and laugh. What is this? She doesn't know how to please him. So this is called Akshantim Janayat Param. Because ghee and honey, they don't mix in equal quantities. They become poisonous. So Radharani has no taste in Chandravali's type of love. And Chandravali has no taste in the way that Radharani loves Krishna. And so this is the cause of jealousy. The cause of jealousy is, oh, why did I want to please Krishna, but he went there to the other camp and he can't be happy there because the way that they love cannot satisfy him. It's not appropriate. So one day there was a goddess of the forest, an assistant of Brinda Devi. So Brinda Devi is in charge of the forest of Vrindavan, and she has so many fairies in the forest. They're called Ban Devis. They're fairies in the forest and they assist her in the lila. So one day, one of the Van Devis approached Radharani and she said, I'm so confused. You love Krishna and all the other gopis love Krishna. Why do you become jealous of each other? Why do you become upset if Krishna goes to Chandravali? So then Radharani said, Ya madhyastha padena sankulatara Shuddha prakritya jadha Vaidik dinalina Unmillana patuna Doshantarullasini Ashayam spuranam hare janayatam Yuktatra chandravali Sapi syaditi lochayan sakijana Kashodam istekshito. Very beautiful verse. Radharani said, Chandravali is like a Chandra. She's just like the moon. You know that the moon is madhyastha padena. In the middle of the moon, there are some marks. This is one feature of the moon. In the middle of the madhyastha padena, there are some marks in the middle of the moon. Sankulatara, Shuddha, the moon is very pure. Prakrita jadha, and the moon is cooling. Jadha, he means cooling. Vaidik dinalina unmillana patu. And the moon is very expert at making the lotus flowers close because the lotus blossom in the sun during the day. But when the moon rises, then those Padma lotuses, they close. And Doshantarullasini, the moon very joyfully shines at night. The moon it is not bright like the sun, but it makes a soft aura. Ashayam spuranam hare. It makes a very soft aura on the eastern horizon. So Chandravali is just like that. Now Radharani is speaking in poetry, because every word that Radharani is saying has a double meaning. Madhyastha padena, that means the moon has a mark on the middle, but that also means Madhyastha. Chandravali behaves in a way which is tatastha, neutral. You see, if there's a person who you don't know, and you're not attached to them, you're not detached from them, you don't really know them, you're neutral to them. You meet someone on the street, then you speak to them very polite. Excuse me, sir, what time is it? So in the same way, when we don't really have a deep relationship with someone, we're very respectful. But if we're very close to someone, then we can drop all the formalities and what to speak of speaking to them in a friendly way. We can insult them, we can criticize them like a joke and tease them. So Radha and Krishna, they love, they don't glorify each other, they tease each other with criticisms. So Radharani says, oh, this Chandravali, actually, she does the Sakya Vinash. Friendship is lost by her respectful attitude, because that's only for Tatastha persons. So, Ya Madhyastha Padena Sankulatara Shuddha. Shuddha means pure. Oh, her love is not crooked. So only love which is really crooked is very, very pleasing to Krishna. She does not have the skills in love, because love should be very, very turbulent. And Jada. Jada means the moon is cool. But here Radharani means Chandravali is cold. And so because of her coldness, she has no heat, no passion. She cannot give pleasure to Krishna. Vaidagdi Nalini Unmilanapatu. The moon is expert at making the lotus close. By this, Radharani is saying, Chandravali, she has no expertise in love. Krishna is like a bumblebee. So the lotus should be open so the bumblebee can take nectar. But Chandravali is such a person that she causes as the moon causes the lotus to close and disappoints the bumblebee. So in the same way, Chandravali, she always disappoints Krishna. She's very expert at that. Doshanta ullasini. Dosh means nighttime. And anta ullas means that the moon joyfully shines during the night. But dosh also means faults. So Radharani said, even though Chandravali has all of these faults, she thinks that these faults of hers are actually qualities. And she's smiling and very happy, rejoicing in her own faults. She's so ignorant. Ashayas Puranam Hare. The moon does not shine brightly. It shines very lightly, very softly on the eastern horizon. But here, Hare, which means the eastern, it means Indra. Spurnam Hare. The eastern horizon is the wife of Indra. So that means that the Asha, the thirst of Chandravali. Earlier on, we were talking today about the thirst, intense thirst of Radhika for Krishna, which is like a Sanipat rogue. It's like she wants to drink the whole ocean of his sweetness, but cannot taste a single drop, even when they're meeting. Her thirst is so intense. But Radharani here is saying that Chandravali's thirst is like the moon, only very slightly manifest, not so much thirst at all. Therefore, Shodam ka istekshito, Radharani said to that fairy of the forest, to that Vandevi, oh my dear Vandevi, you should understand that my jealousy is perfectly legitimate and there's no fault in it at all, because it's just like this. If you have a friend and you invite him to come to eat at your house, so before that, you go here and there, taking great difficulty to collect all the best ingredients, and you undergo so much difficulty to make the most delicious preparations, and you're waiting for him to come, but he doesn't come. But what does he do? He goes to someone else's house, and there they have no fresh food. They have only stale, dry, tasteless leftovers from the previous day. And then he eats that and becomes full with that. And then after a long time, and then after your fresh food and everything that you prepared has gone cold, and then he arrives at your place, then how would you feel? Then you would become angry, and it's quite justified. So in this way, oh Bandevi, you should understand that my jealousy is justified because it's for Krishna's happiness. So These are some of the internal aspects of Maan and why Maan comes, jealousy. This Maan, which is a ras, can come with cause or without a cause. And Krishna can also go in Maan. But Krishna's Maan that he does towards the gopis is always without a cause. Because the gopis' service is perfect, they never do anything wrong, they never commit any offense or make any mistake that would warrant Krishna becoming upset or disturbed. So Krishna can show Maan also, but only without a cause. So that brings us to yesterday, we discussed the subject that every pastime when we listen to it, every katha we listen to, every time we chant Hare Krishna, every time we read Shastra, every time we go to a holy place, we should hold within our heart the Sambandha Gyan, the strong relationship with Radha and Krishna that was given to us by our Gurudev through the Gopal mantra. So how do we relate to the Maan of Radha and Krishna? Srila Rupa Goswami Pad gave some very beautiful examples. I want to give an example of Krishna having causeless Maan and Radharani also having causeless Maan. One day, Krishna came to meet with Radharani. And Krishna was thinking, very often when I meet with Radhika, she becomes very contrary. So today, I'll be contrary and I'll show her who can manifest the strongest Maan. So Krishna, he sat down at some distance from Radharani beneath a tree and looked the other direction. Radharani thought, what is he doing? Oh, he's doing Maan. I am his guru of Maan. He's learned about Maan from me. And now the disciple thinks that he'll teach the guru. Yes, I'll teach Krishna a lesson. And then Radharani, just nearby, she sat down beneath another tree, facing in the opposite direction and looking the other way. So then Rupa Manjari, she was thinking, alas, alas, Radhika is so eager to meet with Krishna and Krishna is so eager to meet with Radharani. But now they're both doing Maan for no reason. And the time will pass and afterwards they'll be very regretful. What can I do to bring an end to this Maan so that they'll meet together and experience more beautiful pastimes? So just then, the Rupa Manjari, she said, just in a way that Radharani could hear, Rupa Manjari said, "Oh Krishna, why are you repeatedly signaling to me again and again from your eyes? Don't do that, because my Swamini Shrimati Radhika will never agree to your proposals. So stop looking at me in that way." So then when Rupa Manjari said that, then Radharani burst out laughing and she jumped up. She said, "I'm the winner, I'm the winner." So then Krishna jumped up. He said, "No, I'm the winner, I'm the winner." Because actually he wasn't looking at Rupa Manjari. Rupa Manjari was just telling a lie to try to break the pastime. But the lying words of Rupa Manjari were interpreted in two different ways. Radharani was thinking, oh, Krishna's Maan is broken because he's signaling to Rupa Manjari by his eyes. And at the same time, Krishna was thinking, oh, Radharani's Maan is broken because she was the first one to jump up and begin to speak. So in this way, as in the mood of the maidservants of Radhika, we want to, when will the day come when we will serve Radha and Krishna by breaking their causeless Maan through telling lies? And sometimes Radharani has Maan with a cause. This is a whole different thing. When Radharani's Maan is with a cause, then we have to take the side of Radharani. Lalita and Vishakha have equal love for Radha and Krishna. So sometimes they may take Radhika's side and sometimes they may take Krishna's side. But the dasis of Radhika, the Manjaris, they have more love for Radhika than for Krishna. So if Radhika is happy, they're happy. If Radhika is sad, they're sad. If Krishna is happy, they're happy. But if Krishna is making Radhika unhappy, they'll take the side of Radharani. And if Krishna is upset about anything, but Radharani is this is Radharani's decision, then they will take her side and tolerate Krishna's suffering. So one day, Krishna had made some offense by going to the Kunj of Chandravali. So Radharani told to her maidservant, Rupa Manjari, Satoyam na veksha punari amaya manadanaya vishantam stri vesham subala suridam varaya gira idam te saku tam vachanam avadaryat chalitadi skalato pa gopa pravaram avaratsyami kimaham. Radharani said, Oh Rupa Manjari, Krishna is Shat. Shat means he's very kind and speaks in a beautiful way in front of my face, but behind my back he does so many things which are displeasing to me. So Satoyam na veksha punahya, I don't want to see his black face here again. I have my dignity. My dignity is my only treasure, and I'm not going to give up that dignity. So I don't want to see the black face of that. She doesn't even say the name of, she's so angry, she cannot say Krishna's name. She says Subalsaka. I don't want to see the face of that Subalsaka here again. So you should go to the gate of my kunj and watch out for him and make sure that he does not enter. But one thing I have to tell you, Vishantam Stri Vesham Subala Suridam Varaya Giram. He is very tricky. He's learned from Subal how to dress up like a gopi. And sometimes his cousin sister, Kundalata, she lends some of her clothes and ornaments to Krishna, and he dresses himself up like a gopi. So be careful. He may take a strivesh, the dress of a gopi, and try to sneak past you and get into the kunj in this way. So watch out for him. And if you catch him and he speaks very sweet words to you like honey and tries to melt your heart, avadayot chalataji, O Rupa Manjari, make your heart very firm. And don't give in to him. Don't agree with him. Don't become submissive to him. Stand firm and send him away. So then Rupa Manjari, being given this mission by Radharani, she went to the gate of the kunj and she was guarding there. She was looking, and after some time, she saw a gopi was coming. And as that gopi came closer and closer, she saw that that gopi had a beautiful sham complexion. Then she realized, oh, I know this is not a gopi at all. So then Rupa Manjari called out, hey, Mohini Murti, there are no demons here, so you don't have to steal the nectar from them. You know that Supreme Lord, he has one incarnation called Mohini Murti, and she stopped the demons from getting the nectar. So in this way, Rupa Manjari is making a joke. Hey, Mohini Murti, there are no demons here, so your services are not required. I think I can hear your mama is calling you. I think your mama Yashoda Maya is calling you. So I think you should return home at once and meditate on your own duplicity. And in this way, Rupa Manjari sent Krishna away, and he was disappointed that his plan had failed. So this is how to do seva when Maan has no course. We gave an example. And now seva when Maan has a course. In this way, this parikrama to the shore of Maan Sarovar presents us with the opportunity to deeply sink into the teachings of our acharyas, to the endless nectar by which they have expressed the inconceivably sweet and fresh eternal love of Radha and Krishna. Someone may say that if they're quarreling with each other, then how can this be love? No, surely it's love. Why? Because Radhika could not have jealousy if she did not have pranay. Pranay means feeling as oneness with Krishna. My mood and your mood is one. Why did you go to a girl who has a different mood? So she would not have jealousy if they didn't have pranay, the love which means we feel as if our hearts are one. And if Radharani chastised him, if Krishna did not have sneha, affection for Radharani, then he would not feel fear. Because if someone chastises someone else and they don't love them, they say, okay, I'll go somewhere else. But if someone is very attached to that person and they're chastised, then they begin to feel fear. So the fact that Krishna feels fear when he's chastised and by the words of Radhika, and the fact that Radharani becomes jealous shows Krishna's sneha and Radhika's pranay, these different aspects of love. And this is why Maan is the manifestation of love, and Radhika's tears of Maan have become this Maan Sarovar. And by hearing the nectarian harikatha of our acharyas, today we all take bath in that nectar of Maan Sarovar. Bale Vrindavan Vihari Lal ki jai, Varasani Wali ki jai, Vrishabhanu Raj Kumari Ju ki jai. Hey King Kurivatsala or Radhika, who is very, very parentally affectionate to your maidservants. Jai Jai Sri Radhe Sham. Nitai Gaur Sitanath Premanande Hari Hari Bo.